This is a picture of Dhillon Khosla, who was blonde, beautiful, and positive she was a man trapped inside a woman's body. After 28 years of struggling with sexual identity questions, she took action, and through a series of life-threatening surgeries, she became a he. This amazing journey is chronicled in the book Both Sides Now, and here to tell us all about it, please welcome Dhillon Khosla. Welcome, Dhillon. Thank you for joining us. I just want to alert the audience at home that obviously it's a very mature subject matter, so if you have any children, this is a good time to get them out of the room. Before we go on, I just want to say it's amazing to look at you. The transformation is simply amazing. I'm sure you hear that a lot.
Right. I do, and it just feels so natural to me, so of course, but it's nice to hear that.
Yeah, I want to show you as a woman. Let's see. The split screen there. When you look at the old photos of yourself, what do you see? What is your reaction?
You know, it's the way I could describe it to make people understand. It's like, have you ever seen a picture of yourself in high school and you see how hard you're trying to be somebody that's accepted or not who you are? And that's what I see when I look at that. Like, I just don't connect with that person. Like, there's just something that I'm trying to be.
You don't see yourself there at all.
It's just almost like a ghost for me because I wasn't really here. It was like I was sleepwalking through that body.
How old were you when you first felt, you know, this isn't me?
Well, I knew it very clearly as a child, and I think it's important to just briefly state that the biological research is that this is a hormonal aberration in the 3rd month in the womb when the body is getting shaped, and right after that the brain is getting shaped. And so we all come in the way that any genetic boy would come in, going, this is who I am, I'm going to grow into a man. Right. And on the playground in Europe, the guys called me he, and when I would cross over
you grew up in Belgium, is it?
In Belgium and Luxembourg. And when I would cross over to the girls' side, because they always hung on to their candy longer than we did, so I wanted it, they would become sort of giggly and nervous, like this outsider has come in.
So they sensed it.
Yeah, I think there's a vibe you get from energy, you know, and women pick up on that very quickly, even in my adulthood.
Yeah. So when you moved here then as a child, you left Luxembourg, came here, you went to school here, college, and then you became an attorney in California.
That's correct.
So at this time, you're living as a woman. What were your days like? I mean, you're dealing with a bunch of people professionally. How were you feeling at that time as a woman?
I think it's more like anybody who's repressing an issue. There was an irritability, or the way my friends would put it, I can't be too graphic, but they would just say there was just this sort of anger in you or resentment that would bubble up, and it would really come up when I was friends with guys, because I naturally, like when I was a kid, you know, gravitated towards people that I felt the sameness with, a kinship. But then there'd be this wall that would hit because there'd be this envy or competitive resentment.
You were jealous of them, that they were men and you weren't?
Yeah, they'd call me up to ask me the female perspective after a breakup, and I'd be so angry, and I didn't know why. The kid in me was like, but wait a minute, I see who you are, you know, why don't you get me?
Who were you attracted to at that time, men or women?
Women.
You were attracted to women?
Yeah, I was dating women.
So maybe you could have thought you were gay.
Well, I was in that community, but they always gave me a hard time because they'd say, well, your taste is too straight female, and you like these women, and but it was more that I just, you know, had this different vibe when I was with them, and the women I was with picked up on it. They would say, you're other than me, or there's something when I touch your arm, there's a different energy in you.
Dylan, let's go through the physiological changes, because the transformation from female to male was a long process, as Meredith said. You had a breast reduction from a double D to a B cup, and then you actually had a double mastectomy, a hysterectomy. I know for a woman who has to face those kinds of surgeries, none of which are elective, it's tough. So how hard was it for you?
Well, here's what was interesting is I had all of those voices in my head, also from my feminist days, of how can you do this? What is this going to feel like? You're letting go of these different parts of your body, and all of that was there. And yet what really happened through each surgery was this just release. My soul just exhaled. And there was a sense that that little boy, like, he was just like, bring me home. And each surgery, I just had this deja vu. Like, something was just coming into place. And so it highlighted the other parts that weren't home yet. And it just made me sprint
Weren't you scared to do all that? I mean, that's heavy duty. I had an operation last summer, and I hated it. I would never want to go through that again if I didn't have to.
Absolutely, and you know what it was is the pain of being and still trying to fight and stay in a body that wasn't mine became so high.
That became more important.
Yeah, I was just broken down on this hotel room floor, and I just was like, God, I surrender.
Do you still have PMS? I have to know.
No, and I'll tell you something else. What I learned is I will never, ever, to a girlfriend, if she's in a bad mood, say, are you PMSing?
Never. Because
I think it's rude. I think it's rude.
Exactly. You also underwent genital surgery to change your vagina into a penis. And I don't want to get particularly graphic on this at all, but how is that procedure done?
It's only within the last 5 years that they can do a flawless job. They can. What they do is, just to give you a general synopsis, is that they reroute blood supply. They can transplant nerves now. They can harvest tissue. They can do a flawless job. But I also want to mention that in my book, you know, the reason I was able to be so detailed with everything, including my soul and my heart and these surgeries, was when I wrote it, I just pictured sort of one reader holed up in their house reading the book, and I was holed up in my house, and I just poured out my heart there.
Right.
So in this context, it's a little harder for me, as you can imagine, to extract that information.
Yeah. When you say, I want to go back, what you said with that surgery, they transplanted the nerves. Does that mean that with this genital surgery that you're able to have sensation and have an orgasm?
Yes.
So
I'd be pretty cranky if I couldn't.
Okay.
So you function totally as a man?
Yes.
Total. Yeah.
Now, I have to ask this other question now. Do you use Viagra?
No, the blood supply that we have is pretty good, and they can also do some things to assist that, but we don't need to use Viagra.
Yeah.
Why do old guys have to use it then? Why don't
I think their blood flow gets clogged, and especially if they're having a lot of things that clog arteries and blood flow. I think that's where things over time.
Okay, so Dhillon, you're having this transformation inside. Obviously, there's a transformation outside. Now, take me to your job, your colleagues. So you've got all your family. You're an attorney. How do they respond and react to this change?
Well, I think what was great about my job, and I should mention it, I was working for federal judges behind the scenes. So they have a staff of attorneys that help them analyze appeals and make recommendations. That was helpful because we weren't dealing with the public. It was all in-house. But what was so amazing about this journey is here I felt like no one would understand this. I mean, it took me a lot to understand it's my condition. And I think what I've learned about the human spirit is you don't have to understand something to have compassion. And if people like somebody or you already have a connection, they just come from grace. So
you stayed in that job through all the surgeries and that support system?
I did. Well, I needed that salary too for all the surgeries. Expensive, but
this is very expensive process.
But some people might change and then leave town and start a whole new life somewhere.
No, and I describe in the book how I totally understand why they do that, because the pronoun shifts take a lot of energy. But the people who loved me worked at it, and I owe them my life. They were beautiful people at work from every unit of the court. They just rallied around me and just gave me gifts sometimes, or just, hey, how you doing? And,
I can understand why people would love you. You're a very nice guy. Very, very nice guy. Very smart. And what a struggle to find yourself finally. Are you in a relationship right now?
No, I have dated a couple of people since I went through this, but I'm an old romantic. I believe that when I'm in all the way, but I want to...
Dhillon, how would you feel if a guy sent a drink over?
I guess fine. I was thinking of the other end. I was thinking that it's fine to accept the drink, because I feel like when you send a drink as a guy, it's hit or miss, and you know that. And if they accept it, you take that risk.
Interesting.
You know, so it's just gracious.
He comes right from both perspectives.
I'm coming to, I just didn't think the other side.
You're a very smart guy and a very brave guy to go through this and to write about it too, and help obviously a lot of people struggling with the same situation. Our thanks to Dhillon Khosla. Everyone in our audience is getting a copy of his book, Both Sides Now. Great read.